Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we are helping digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can scale profitably. Today, I am joined by my buddy, Carlo Bernoni. Carlo with no S. What's up, dude?
That was perfect, man. That was awesome. That was perfect. Sometimes I mispronounce my own name, but that was awesome.
Yeah, so I was actually shocked when you brought this up right before that people actually call you Carlos.
Oh,
yeah. I
yeah.
guess it kind of makes sense, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, every time I do my Facebook Lives or, I do my content, I'm always like, Carlo No S at Fitness Marketer, Carlo No S at Fitness Marketer. But yeah, it's a funny thing. So that's why I'm like, dude, you know how to pronounce my name, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I get it all
right, so we're going to get into your story and about how you built this amazing agency. I've been watching you for years. But we'll get into that in a couple minutes. But of course, we want to start off with our little current events / roundtable discussion. And it's a topic that's very passionate. I'm very passionate about this topic because we're going to talk about soccer because we are both soccer guys.
I'll bring it. That for sure we are.
Yeah. So you're on the East Coast and you are Italian American, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Okay. So I grew up on the West Coast. My mother is from Taiwan. My grandfather is from Mexico. I always grew up supporting the United States. And both of us, we have this connection because we deeply remember the 1994 World Cup that was held here in the United States. First time the World Cup was ever here in the US. It is coming back in 2026. So I know that we're both excited about that. Yep. So tell me about your soccer passion. Where did it come from? Did you play growing up? Give us the scoop.
So first things first, right? You and I both agree on this. It's because I always get this question, who do you root for first? It's the United States first, always
Absolutely.
First. And then it was funny because in 2006, the United States played Italy. So that was a hell of a game.
I remember that, yeah.
But so my first thought, my first memory of World Cup soccer was actually back in 1990. And just walking into my living room, my dad just screaming.
Because it was in Italy that year. 1990.
It was in Italy that year,
yeah.
And one thing that's like kryptonite to Italian soccer is penalty kicks, and Italy went out in the semifinal in 1990, I believe, to Argentina in penalty kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw my dad just screaming. That was my first memory of it. But then in 1994, I watched the very first game when Italy played Ireland and lost.
Yep.
The Irish played an awesome game that day, and they won 1-0. It's amazing I can remember these stats.
Oh, I remember the goal. I remember the goal, actually.
Yeah, it was crazy. It went right over it. It was
a chip shot from 18 yards out, 20 yards out. This little redheaded Irish guy, and he just went nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And he cried, and he went right over Pagliuca's head. Pagliuca didn't even believe that it went in. He was like, "What?" But that's when I got World Cup fever. And then we were in the same bracket that year. Speaking of Italy and Mexico, because my father went to that game because it was here near DC, and he said it was the most amazing game because our colors are the same, right? It's
right.
So he goes, when I went to the Italy-Mexico game, it was beautiful because the stadium was all the same color.
Right.
Which was awesome. And but that's when I first got World Cup fever, was in 1994. Just fell in love with it then. And then what was interesting is I never played as a kid, but that year I put together a club team to play at a local rec league.
Mm-hmm.
So it was funny. It was my first job as a manager because obviously it was the first time I really had ever touched the ball. So
really?
I wasn't that good, but I wanted to win. So I was recruiting top people. I'm like, come on, we're putting together this team. We were called VCC United. But anyway,
nice.
I digress. Yeah, 94 was a heartbreaking year, and of course we lost in penalty
kicks. Yeah, Roberto Baggio putting it over the bar.
Chris, I still remember that moment. And I'll tell you this, in 2006, when Italy won the World Cup, I could not watch the penalty kicks against France. My wife had to watch it. True story. I left the room. I said, I cannot handle them losing another World Cup with penalty kicks. I left the room. And then she came in and she goes, they won. And I go, do you know how penalty kicks work? I wanted to double check that because she goes, they won. I'm like, honey, if you tell me they won and they didn't win, I'm going to be really mad. I go, are you sure you understand? She goes, well, the Italians are running around the field really excited with no clothes on. So I think that they won. I'm like, okay, good. So that that was redemption after a long time. But
yeah, there was a lot of controversy in that World Cup, and for Italy as well.
yeah.
Like there was the infamous Zidane headbutt,
Yep.
right? That happened in the final.
Yep.
And then I think that Luca Toni took a dive in the box for one of those games, and that's what put you guys through.
I tell you, there's always controversy surrounding Italy, Brazil. There's always some sort of thing that happened, whether it's a dive. And I'll tell you, as a soccer fan, I'm really excited about instant replay now.
Yeah, the VAR. Yeah, it's
I really like that. Not only the goal line technology, but also instant replay, because then, if somebody takes a dive, and I understand some people are like, well, that's part of the game, like being able to draw that foul. But as an American first, Italian second, I like justice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And you just didn't get touched. You don't deserve to have a penalty kick if you didn't earn it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I love about American football. And it's like, it just, I like to, I don't know, that part always bothered me about it, was the diving and all that, and reacting. So I'm glad that they finally, in my opinion, caught up and stepped up to it. So
yeah, it's just holding the players accountable. Like I've played my whole life, so I always used to do mind games with the other team, mind games with the referees. I was really good at drawing fouls. But you do need a level of accountability, right? To keep some dignity within the game. It's one thing to draw a foul, and that you're taking a dive if you're taking a dive. Like I 100%, every time I took a dive, I knew that I was taking a dive.
Yeah.
But if there's no repercussions, then what's to stop somebody from doing it just all the time, which it destroys the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that they have the VAR and that they're going to be able to, basically call these guys out for when they're, doing these big things. So,
yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that the United States will win their first World Cup before Mexico wins one, or do you think that the United States will win their first World Cup before Italy wins another one?
That's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked it. So for those that are listening that don't know anything about soccer, the World Cup is coming back to the United States. We're actually sharing it. It's Mexico, the United States, and Canada. 2026 is the year, I believe, right? So we've got another, 7 years until it returns?
Mm-hmm.
And so, the United States is in a really interesting development phase in soccer right now. Obviously, we missed the last World Cup, but I think Italy missed it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. First time I think ever Italy's ever missed it. And first time since 1990 that the U.S. has missed it. And so, they're really the United States is really trying to find itself again. And so I think it's a little too early to say that the United States is going to win in 2026. Mexico is been playing very, very strong, but they also have a habit of shitting the bed when it comes to the World Cup.
Yeah.
In the last World Cup, they actually put together a squad for the first time, maybe ever, that was not solely politically motivated. A big criticism that a lot of the people here in Mexico have about the teams is that, it's a popularity contest. It's not necessarily the best players. And then they aren't great at playing as a team. It's a lot of very individual type of players that end up making the World Cup squad. Right. So last World Cup, with the upset that they had over Germany, making it to the next round, they lost in the second round. But, if I were to put money on it, I would say that Mexico has a better shot. Right now, Mexico has a better shot of winning the World Cup in 2026. Italy, I have absolutely no idea if you guys can pull it out. 20, when's the next World Cup? Is it 2030? No, it's 2022. No, it was just this past summer. So 2022.
Right.
Yeah. So I have absolutely no idea if you guys are going to be able to pull that out in 2022.
But
what's your prediction?
Well, you brought up a great point. First of all, just to back up for a minute, Italy's the same way, by the way. It's extremely political. It's always about, putting in the name person in there. And honestly, that's why I firmly believe in 1994 we lost the World Cup, because even though Baggio was the star player, we had people that were very, very capable at that point of making penalty kicks. I mean, let's face it, if you're playing at that level, almost every person on your roster should be able to – you don't need your superstar. But there was so much money with Baggio scoring that goal that he was hurt, and there was a lot of other people.
He had a hamstring injury.
he had a hamstring injury. Wow, you're like your memory is on point exactly.
Oh, I absolutely remember.
You know what? Forget it. We're doing the whole podcast on soccer.
We should, exactly.
We're doing the whole
screw the agency thing. We're just going to talk about soccer all day.
But yeah, you know, and the other thing too is like, so it's very political. But the thing that concerns me about the Italian team is that the youth, like, you don't see a lot of young players coming up. Like with Germany and Brazil, they're really, really focused on their youth team. You know, on their youth program rather. And I just don't see that with Italy. You don't see a lot of young players like you used to that were constantly coming up. And historically, Italy's always been known for their defense. I would say over the years, we're known for having that amazing defense, and you don't see that anymore. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty good prediction. I mean, I think for 2026, I think Mexico has a shot. I think they're very good. They're fast. But the thing with Italy is they come out of nowhere. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, they squeak by and then they make it to the final, you know, or they don't make it at all. But I don't know. I'm definitely rooting for the U.S. I would love. We have the talent in the United States. I mean, you know that we do. It's just a matter of, you know, soccer. It's just not where the money is. You know, when, like, if you've got a world-class athlete, they're probably going to want to go play in the NFL or, you know, elsewhere before they would come here, unless they want to go play, you know, overseas. But well, like I said, this is going to turn into sports radio.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I am going to disagree with you on one thing, and because it's my show, this is the final point. If I am the coach of Italy at the time, and I cannot remember who the coach was, that's like the one fact.
Enrico Sacchi.
Okay, if I am the coach and I am watching Baggio's run of form up to the final, I'm absolutely putting him in to take the fifth penalty. I think that there's no way.
I mean, to start the game, yes, but to keep him in for the final, like, because throughout the game he struggled. I would say start the game, but to keep him in because remember they went into double overtime. Obviously, if it went to penalty kicks.
But I think he scored a late game winner in the semifinal to put them into the final.
Oh, so, he did. But the point is, he did indeed. He was in the semifinal. He scored twice against Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
yeah, I remember that game. That game was legendary. Stoichkov.
That was legendary.
Unbelievable that year.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. I had an Uber driver, and he told me that he was from Bulgaria, and I said, Stoichkov.
Yeah, that's the one thing that everybody knows about Bulgaria.
We had an instant rapport.
So, but again, having played the game, having coached both men and children, the kids teams, you just got to leave it up to the player and just have him make that. He's just got to convert the penalty. I mean, he flat out he made the mistake, but I think that there was at that point in time with that pressure, there's nobody else that I would have wanted on the ball other than Baggio. He just didn't make it. All right. So, all right, let's move on to the whole reason why we're here. We are gonna do another show just talking about soccer.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about your agency, man. So tell me how you got started. Well, first of all, tell me what it is that you guys do. Tell everybody, you know, the agency name, everything.
Yeah. So basically, our company is called Fitness Marketer, and we exclusively work with gym owners from around the world. That's our main thing. That's our niche. That's our passion. That's who we like to help. And I really got into this business really by accident. So to tell you my story just real quickly, I have a financial background. Like I owned a mortgage company for years and years and years. And then in 08 and 09, when, you know, the recession came in, like my business partner and I at the time, we just decided to just go our separate ways. He moved out of state. We're just like, you know, let's figure out what we want to do next. When I had my mortgage company, I did most of the marketing, but that was really before social media had really taken off. So it was before, you know, Facebook ads, YouTube fan page, the whole bit. So, but I had studied marketing in depth, like, you know, Dan Kennedy and some of the other marketing greats. So I really understood copywriting and direct response, but everything was done through direct mail. So a couple years later, I'm also a day trader, and I put together a course on how to teach people how to day trade. But I was trying to get people into my course, and there was my good friend Jeff Sherman, who you know. Yep. He lives in Baltimore, and where he lived in Baltimore, he's now in California. But that's how I got into this whole thing, because my wife ended up going to Jeff's boot camp, and she responded to one of his direct mail pieces. And I'm like, this guy's freaking awesome. Like, this guy's really slick. Like, he really knows his marketing. And I go, he's using all of Dan Kennedy stuff, but not for the mortgages. He's using it to fill up his boot camp. So make a long story short, I got to talk to Jeff, and Jeff just really like helped me with getting people into my day trading course. And he was like, because I knew, listen, my first question to Jeff was, how do you make a fan page private? You know what I mean? He's like, well, that's like defeats the purpose. Like, I mean, like I knew nothing about, I knew about marketing and copywriting because that I understood inside and out, but not the social media aspect of it.
Right.
So what ended up happening was he was teaching me, and like I would hunt him down. You know what I mean? Like I would like basically like I would see him at Starbucks or see him at the bookstore or whatever, and I'd be like, hey, dude, I got a question about this. And so he finally came to me one day and he goes, listen, he goes, I have an idea. You may be interested. He goes, but I really want to start an agency for gym owners. And I said, I go, dude, look at me, man. I'm not a gym owner here in case you can't tell. You know what I mean? He's like, no, he goes, I understand. He goes, but Jeff had a mastermind at the time. And what was happening was a lot of people were asking him like, hey, can you just do it for me?
Yes.
Can you just set up the ads for me? Can you just set up the funnels for me? And he created the funnels and he did a lot of that stuff. And he's like, hey, they were asking, can you just do all that stuff? So he came to me, he goes, look, I have an idea. I have the content. I'm an influencer in that space. A lot of people know Jeff. And then Jeff is also business partners with Bedros, who's the owner of, who's the CEO and owner of Fit Body Bootcamp.
Bedros Keuilian, for those who are wondering who Bedros is.
Yeah. So Bedros is CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. So Bedros and Jeff are good friends, and they had a company together. And Jeff had this. It was Jeff's idea to have this agency, and he's just like, do you want to do it with me? Like, do you want to run it? Do you want to be the face of it? Do you want to manage it and run it and just kind of do it? Because I have the content and the influence, but I don't want to run an agency. Would you like to do that piece of it? And I'm like, I did not know what I was getting myself into, by the way. I had no idea, because I was just like, because Jeff's point was this. He goes, look, if you want to learn social media marketing, there's no better way to learn it than with a list of people that like we already have. You know what I mean? Like, so we can feed the business into the agency because we already have email lists and platforms set up. So like for me to learn it the slow way through trying to teach people how to day trade, Jeff was like, this is a perfect opportunity for you to learn it super, super fast because we're going to have a built-in people that we can send over. So one thing leads to another. I mean, this is back in 2015. We're still cranking along, doing our agency thing. So that's how it really happened. It's, I ran with the hiring and all of that. And then I just kind of went to Jeff and Bedros, especially Jeff, and just be like, hey, what do you think about this? And I would go to him more of like, just like how to run it. He was CEO. I'm more of the COO role, and just be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'd go to him like nonstop, and then we ran with it from there. So that's how the agency came about. It really kind of came about by accident, really.
That's awesome, man. Well, okay. So, with my agency, we used to work with a lot of fitness professionals, probably a little bit different niche than what you guys are going into. There's so many things that you could do for fitness people. How did you guys figure out what to really specialize in, or what are the things that you're doing right now that are really working for your niche?
Cool. Yeah. So two parts. So the first thing is, how did we know what to do? Well, that was the beautiful thing, was because Jeff at the time owned his own boot camp. So he would test everything out on his boot camp. And then what would happen was he would go into a Facebook group and be like, hey, I just want to let you know, this is what I'm running. This is what's working. And, he came up with this 21-day low barrier offer, which is like, a low priced paid trial really is what it was. Yep. And then Bedros wrote the copy. Jeff came up with the sales page, and that's what was working. So that's how we knew what to go into, was because we really were testing it out with his gym.
Yeah.
And then what we would do is then he had mastermind clients that were hiring him, and then we would test it out in their gyms. And that's what we did. I mean, we literally started the agency with one testimonial, one. And I'll never forget it, because it was one of Bedros' events, Fitness Business Summit. And there was like 1,000 people there. I had one testimonial. I had an iPad, and I was just like, look at what this guy did. Look at what this guy did.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm like, and we ran his ads for he used our funnel, and we ran his ads for 2 weeks. You interested? I had one iPad, one testimonial, and we started it from there. And I just talked to everybody. And that's what we did. So, and then that was the first time I met Bedros, was at his event. Uh-huh. And it was funny because I didn't even know who he was. But like when I went to the event, people were lined up to talk to Bedros, and people were like all around Jeff. And I'm just like, who are
these guys? Yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand. Like, who, like, I don't understand it. And it's funny because that first Fitness Business Summit, Jeff, actually, I roomed with one of his CrossFit buddies. Okay. His guy by the name of Travis Stetzel. who comes up with he made the games this past year, the whole bit, super nice, awesome guy. But I'm walking around like in the lobby and people are stopping to get their picture with him. And I'm like, let me move out of the way. You know what I mean? But I had no idea what was going on. You know what I mean? Like, this guy Badris is a celebrity. So like, I went up to Badris and was like, hey dude, what's happening? And he's like, hey, I think he was ready for me to like ask him for like, I don't know, an autograph or like, I think the reason why we hit it off so well was because I wasn't starstruck, not because he's not impressive. I just didn't know who he was.
Right.
And I think he really appreciated the fact that I just talked to him like a regular guy. You know what I mean? And I wasn't trying to hit him up, because most people, they track B and Jeff down and all they want to do is pick their brain. I didn't even know how to pick your brain, because I don't even know what questions to ask you.
Right.
So I'm just like, hey man, what's going on? And then he invited us to go surfing, and then that was it. But that's how we started the agency. And as far as what's working now for gym owners, right now there's two kind of trains of thought. Like it's kind of like like boating. Like, you have your sailboaters and you have your power boaters, right? And they both like being on the water, but they have two very different approaches of how to get to point A to point B, right? Like the sailboat, that guy likes to, he doesn't want a straight shot. He's going to turn the sails and the jib and, we're going to go this way and that way, but they want to get to the same point. Power boater is just like, I just want to get there. And what that basically means is like low barrier offers, like paid trials, are still working for us like gangbusters. They still are. We're still running ads and they're working really, really well. Some people listening to this might be we don't want that, because if people are coming in on a paid trial, then our services are $200 a month. It's very difficult to bridge that gap from $21 to $200.
Yeah.
We have some people that are doing it every single day, like all day, because they believe like, well, we want people to just come in and just taste the food. Just come in and just taste the food, and then you're going to fall in love with it, and then we're going to be able to sell you the rest of the stuff. And then the other people are like, no, they go for the much high and high ticket sales, where it's a 6-week challenge for $500, and they believe that that works well. So to answer your question, we do both.
Okay.
I mean, we do both, and they're working well. And right now, what's really crushing it for us are messenger ads, like starting that initial conversation and getting that initial person. Because here's the thing, this is something that all of your listeners, pay attention, listen to this, because whether they're trying to get agency clients or they're trying to coach their clients, this is the most important thing I think I could share with you, is that automation is great and should be used to start the conversation. But we're trying to automate ourselves out of sales, and that's not a great idea, because the thing is that at the end of the day, some people will buy straight from the page, which is fine. But really what people want is they want that human interaction. They want, like, they have specific questions for people. So like we use ManyChat, for example, to initiate the conversation, like through a messenger ad. But our goal is to hand it over to a human as fast as possible so that we can really engage with them and then get them on a phone call. Some people are just really scared about getting on a phone, and they don't want to. They just want to automate the entire thing, and automation and processes are vital. There's no question about that.
Right.
But at some point, like, what's funny to me is that some people say to me, they're like, well, my competition's kicking my ass, but I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm like, well, you know what I mean? Like, well, no one's going to give you no one's going to give you their money before they give you your time. And you're just trying to automate everything through bots.
Right.
And it's great. Like you should build a huge, and this is a saying that one of my mentors said to me, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And what that means is don't take what I'm saying and throw out everything else, right? You want to take what I'm saying and add it to what you're doing.
Yeah, layer it on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying don't be like Carlo, that guy from Fitness Marketer said bots suck. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying use them, but leverage it to then get that human element piece in there where you can start talking to them. So, and, at the end of the day, I always say that it comes down to your market. You have to test things out. Like one of the things that we're great at doing with our agency is that, we don't believe in long-term contracts, but we do require that people work with us a minimum of 90 days. Why? Well, because we're not interested in running an ad for a week. And so many of our clients have said to me, they've come back and they said, Carlo, if it wasn't for the fact that you made us sign that 90-day contract, we never would have gotten the results because we were forced to keep it going. We would have cut the cord. We would have, and I say this all the time on our Facebook group, where I give example after example that if the client was running their own ads, they run an ad for 2 days, it doesn't work, they shut it off. But for us, we're like, no, you have to keep it going because we're under contract to do it. And then the ROI comes at the end, so And the other thing with gym owners is that most of their return on investment is going to come from them signing up memberships. I tell them, I'm like, most people are trying to get rich from Facebook ads. I'm like, that's not our business model. Our business
Right.
model is get as many self-liquidating leads as possible. And then, as many shots as you can to sell them and upsell them when they come in. So, but anyway, so that's what worked then, and that's what's working now. That was a long answer.
Hey, no, I loved it. Everything that you said was really, really good. I want to ask you a question, just because obviously your name is fitness marketer. It's similar to digital marketer.
Yeah.
The one thing that I noticed going to the Traffic and Conversion Summit this past year, which I don't think you were there this past year, were you?
This was, yeah. I missed your whole wrestling ring.
That's okay. We'll do it again.
Okay.
I saw Jeff, so he got to experience it.
Oh, there you go.
But especially with the agency partners, the thing that I noticed that was the biggest difference this time around is the community. It's like you have the digital marketer certification, which I think is also great. You have a wide spectrum of agency owners, people who are just getting started and like they're paying, I think the fee to join the group is like $5,000 or something like that. That's the minimum. Yeah. And these guys are spending $5,000 and they might be doing $4,000 in revenue a month, which to me is shocking, right? They're spending 10% just for this certification. But the real value that it seems like everybody's getting is that they feel like they're a part of something. They feel like they're part of a group, and they have people and they have mentors and they have friends that they're making and connections. And that is worth a whole lot more than the $5,000. They probably, the perceived ROI for them, not necessarily, what's going to the bottom line, but what they feel is way more than 5,000. So is that something that you guys are also trying to create within your community as well? And then are you also preaching that to your clients to have that for them to create that community in their gyms?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, community is really like the most important thing right now. And actually, I was just reading an article the other day about how Facebook is completely redesigning their app.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Really going to make it focused on groups. So we saw that coming, a while ago, and absolutely. I mean, whether you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast and you're an agency owner, or you're trying to coach your end user, you really should build a community. And the other cool thing about, like, for example, one of the nice things about building a community with gym owners is that they like to talk to one another, and they're not reluctant to talk to one another because they're not all in the same town. Right. Yeah. So they're not, so they really are helpful, but they're also not intimidated by sharing what they think are the secrets of what they're doing. And by the way, with social media now, it's so easy. You can just go on and look at what anybody's doing as far as ads, funnels. I mean, you can basically, like, so people that are reluctant to share their stuff, I hate to tell you, people can find it. Like, exactly. If a new gym comes on board with us, within 2 minutes, I can find out what every gym in their area is running or not running and what they're doing for promotion. I mean, it's just like, so community is huge. It would be huge and I think the only people that don't share in a community are the ones that like feel like they don't want to give away like their trade secrets and give away everything. Yeah, which is fine. It's just that right now, I mean, it's really tough to do. It's really tough to keep stuff secret. You know what I mean? With this, with social media, the way that it is right now, and it really just comes down to value. But yeah, building a community is huge. Building a Facebook group is huge. And that's why, like, now you see, like, like every time we do this is something else I think is really valuable is to leverage every contact point with your clients. So like when we send out a text, we're asking them to join our group. When we send out an email, join our group. On the thank you pages of every one of our funnels, step one, go join our group. Because we not only want their email, so right now we want their phone number so we can text them. We want them on email so we can email them. We want them on our group. Even when we deliver digital assets, we now don't even deliver digital assets via email. We deliver them through ManyChat. Mm-hmm. So that way we have as many different ways that we can contact them as possible. But yeah, absolutely create that, create
and then you guys are also running an event too, right? You actually were just out here a couple of weeks ago in Southern California for your event. So that's another thing that you guys are doing for your clients, correct? To build that community?
Exactly. So for us, like, we have something that's called our Elite Partnership. Mm-hmm. And in our Elite Partnership, what we did was we really just merged coaching and services into one. Because what was happening is Jeff was coaching people on what to do, how to do it, but then he was referring it to the agency side.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the agency side of things, we were getting them the leads that they wanted, but they weren't getting the result because they didn't know how to follow up, or they didn't know how to sell, or they had issues. So I'm referring them back to Jeff.
Right.
So we created the Elite Partnership, and then what we do is we basically run your Facebook ads, we create all of your funnels, we post on your fan page. Jeff coaches them up. They have access to us via Voxer, and then 4 times a year, Jeff came up with the idea of like, hey, let's do a quarterly workshop so that we have that community where they get to hang out and see each other. And then the other thing is we help them set their goals. So yeah, so any agency that's listening to this, like that's in a niche, you should definitely be adding on workshops to what it is that you're doing, because there's always another level that your clients are willing to pay if the value is there. They're willing to spend more money with you if you give them an opportunity. And one other thing too, and this is another writer downer, is never underestimate a client's ability to find the money to pay you. Because if you show them enough value, they will figure out a way. It always comes down to value. Like if somebody says to you, hey, listen, I don't have the money for this. It's like, I'm sure people have heard that. I'm not the first one to use this by far, but people always say, listen, if I had a $200,000 Ferrari out front and I have the title to it and I'll give it to you, but you need to be able to come up with $5,000 in the next 24 hours. Could you? Well, the value is there.
Of course.
So too many people too often take that I don't have the money as an excuse, or like, okay, I hear it with personal trainers all the time. They're like, well, they just don't have the money. You're sending me deadbeat leads. You're sending me crap leads. They just don't have $200 to sign up for my services. I'm like, everybody has $200. It's not like you're selling $1 million homes where people legitimately can't afford it. I'm like, everybody has $200. You just haven't given them a reason to give it to you.
Exactly.
So, that's basically it. But yeah, community is huge. And if you can put on an event, the more niche you are as an agency, some agencies, they may work with whoever, but if you have something that's niche, then, you could put together a team of real estate agents, chiropractors, gym owners, that they're all out there hanging out, and then you bring them together. But yeah, events are huge.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Those were some absolute diamonds. So if you are an agency owner out there, and you are listening to this, you absolutely need to do exactly what he's doing. I know that we have a lot of clients personally here at Dude that are doing the consulting as well as the fulfillment. It's an absolute game changer. So we're just about out of time, Carlos. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can, the best way would be just look me up on Instagram, carlo.bernoni. That's my handle. Made it as simple as possible, and just follow me there and send me a message. Or you can find me on Facebook, or if you want to send me an email, Carlo, no S, @fitnessmarketer.com. But if they follow me on Instagram, I post a lot of great quality content on there. So that would probably be the best way to
awesome. And then who is the perfect person to reach out to you today?
The perfect person to reach out to me today? Well, I'm a go-giver. So obviously, like if there's another agency out there that needs help, or they just need to be pointed in the right direction, I like to help as much as I can. So if you're an agency out there and I can add value to your life and help you in any way, great. That's fine. Or if you're a gym owner listening to this, I don't know how many gym owners are going to be listening to this, but if you are, that's fine. But yeah, like I said, I would say the main thing is if you're an agency owner and you need help, just reach out to me and I'll try to help you any way I can.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. To all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.